Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If you please take your seats and make your way in here. Once again, we do have some cards down here by Mark, so he'll gladly pass those out. If somebody wanted to fill out a question, hasn't gotten that yet, please raise your hand and we'll be happy to make his way to you. Good evening, I'm Kent Casson. I will be the moderator of tonight's candidate forum here at Prairie Central High School. Welcome to the Mayoral Forum for Fairbury, sponsored by the Fairbury Area Chamber of Commerce. We do have some Fairbury Area Chamber board representatives with us tonight, so if you could please raise your hand if you're here, some over here, some here, and please give them a nice round of applause for being here tonight. And also, how about a round of applause, please, for all the candidates up here this evening, too, before we begin. And the format of this forum will be as follows. All questions asked this evening have been submitted by the public. Many questions were submitted, and we will get to as many as we can for the time we have allotted for you this evening. No candidates were given questions prior to the forum. The Fairbury Area Chamber does not endorse any candidate running for mayor. This forum is held for the sole purpose as a service to the community of Fairbury. Numbers were drawn by the candidates prior to the start of the forum to determine the order they will give an opening and closing statement. Candidates will be given a 1-minute opening statement and a 2-minute closing statement. And candidates have also drawn the order they will answer the first question given tonight. Each question thereafter, the candidates will rotate with the new questions. Candidates will have 30 seconds to answer questions. A bell will ring at the 30-second mark to help the candidates keep track of time and finish their thoughts this evening. Should we have time following the questions submitted by the public prior to the forum, index cards and pens are available, as we said, for questions for the audience at a table at the entrance here to my right. If time permits, we will then ask the questions submitted by the audience. And questioning of the candidates will stop by 8:30 to give time for the audience to have a meet and greet with the candidates afterward. And before introducing the candidates, the Fairbury Area Chamber of Commerce would like to thank all the candidates for participating in this forum. How about one more round of applause for everyone participating here tonight? And as we begin this evening with opening statements, we will start with Brian.
Guess who drew the short straw? Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Brian Meints. I'm a graduate of Prairie Central High School, class of 2001, 34 years old. Work at Caterpillar currently, been there for 12 years. A lot of people ask why I'm running. I guess the real reason why I'm running is I care about this town. I care about the people in it. I care about the workers who work for the city. And I'd like to see everyone represented. And I think what I bring to this race is a new perspective, a great deal of integrity, and some new ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, and now David.
Welcome, I'm David Slagel. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. With a few pending retirements in the city administration and the upcoming sewer project, which I'm sure we'll get to later tonight, the next several years are going to be a time when the city needs experience. That's my key in this campaign is experience. Life experience, I'm 41 years old, been married for over 20 years, have a 9-year-old daughter. My work experience, I've owned and managed my own business here in Fairbury for over 16 years. And the city experience, I've been on the city council for 4 years, even been acting mayor a time or two. As mayor, I intend to make decisions in the best interest of the citizens with a focus on maintaining our infrastructure, such as roads, sewer, water, and on providing essential services to our citizens like policing, garbage, snow removal, that sort of thing. The city's primary responsibility is maintaining these key services while always keeping in mind the possibility for future growth. I look forward to serving Fairbury openly and honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. And Kaci.
I've been born and raised here. I raised my family here. Fairbury's always been a place that I call home. And this is where we want to raise our kids. And I want want people who are from Fairbury to be proud to say that they are from Fairbury. And the reasons I'm running for mayor are truly so that people understand that the government works for us and the government is for us. And what we need to do is make it so government is open and truly transparent, so we don't have to question what is. And raising kids here, we need to make it so that Fairbury is a place where we want to raise our families and we want to stay here instead of moving away. And my main goal is to make it a safe place that we all want to stay.
And Seth.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. Thanks to the Chamber of Commerce for putting this up. This is fantastic to see this many people coming out here. I think it's a little unprecedented with 4 mayoral candidates, but to me, the more choices you have, the better off we all are. My name is Seth Welch. I'm a 2009 graduate of Prairie Central High School, a 2011 graduate of Parkland College, and a 2013 graduate of the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I'm degreed in history, and you can tell tonight that public speaking is not one of my strengths, so I do apologize beforehand. I'm running for mayor because my grandpa Lonnie, for those of you that know him, is pretty upfront and told me when I was a little kid that if you're not happy with something, you don't complain about it, you don't bellyache, you become a part of the process and you change it. I'm not happy with the way that some things are going here in Fairbury. And I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of folks over the past couple of months, and I can tell that they're not happy either. So instead of sitting back and complaining, I'm throwing my hat to the race to become a part of, to become a fixing the problem. Government to me is practical, it's fiscally responsible, it's proactive, and it's accessible, it's open to the people. Those aren't something that define our government right now, in my opinion. So I want to use the opportunity as mayor to come in and bring those things into local government.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to begin the question portion of the evening now, so if you could please hold your applause during this middle part until the very end, we would appreciate that. To answer as many questions as possible this evening. So the order of questions drawn, we're going left to right up here the way they sit facing me. We're going to start with Brian to answer this first question, and after that go right down the line to the rest of you here. Why do you want to be the mayor of Fairbury? Please be specific, this person asks. They say public service, improve the city, or personal agenda, and please explain.
Well, I'd like to improve the city. We have a lot of things that are going to need fixing, mainly this new water treatment plant and the sewer system, the upgrades with that, and it's going to take a great deal of effort by everyone involved. I guess that's the main reason why I'm doing it, is to make sure that no extra money is spent on this. We tighten our belts, because that's what it's going to take to pay for this.
Kaci, same question for you, please.
The main reason I'm running is to improve the city, and I feel like we can't change what we don't know. I believe the root of changing everything that does happen in Fairbury starts at the core, which is City Hall, and seeing that things are done in a way that benefits everybody in the community. And when you put that first, I think anything can happen in a community.
Thank you. Seth, your answer, please.
I'm a numbers guy, so whether it's in my private life or business life, wherever it is, when I put the numbers, when I put our books, so to speak, of the community, when I set them next to statistics like we haven't had any significant growth in our population, we have not had any significant influx of businesses within our community. Our utility rates are continuing to go up. The size of our government continues to go up, regardless of if our city is actually growing or not. So when I put those numbers there next to those different alarming statistics that we have, that's a concern to me. That's not sustainable. And that's, somebody who's pro-business, you have to run it like a business and be flexible and creative. And that's not the way that we're going right now, which is why I want to run for mayor.
And David, your answer, please.
Thank you. Why do I want to be the mayor of Fairbury? Sounds like an easy question, but several years ago when I was deciding to run for city council and then for a mayor again, I struggled a bit with this. Why put myself into that position? A lot of people ask me, why are you doing it? In the end, the answer is simple. I love Fairbury. I don't want to just be a mayor. I want to be Fairbury's mayor because I love Fairbury, because I intend to live out the rest of my life here, and I hope that our children will do the same.
Thank you all. We go to our next question submitted by the public. What do you think are the duties for mayor, and what qualities/characteristics are required to fill those duties? Brian, we'll start with you again, please.
Well, the duties of the mayor, in my opinion, are to make sure and look over things with the city. The mayor really doesn't have as much power as the city council in this town, but he has a great deal of sway. He's the deciding vote on a lot of issues if it's tied. There's a liquor commissioner also. I don't know if many of you know that. But I think he can be a figurehead of this town and kind of build bridges.
To me, being mayor is someone who can facilitate things and see that things are done fairly and make sure every person has a voice, make sure each council member who represents their wards is able to say what they need to say for the voters that they represent. And it's also to be a listener and to understand where each person is coming from on many different views. To be understanding and to be able to sit everybody down in a professional manner and to discuss the hard issues, the difficult things that we don't want to talk about, and to make sure that we make the absolute best solution, not for ourselves, but for the community, is how I see what the mayor does.
Okay, Seth.
I think the biggest responsibility of the mayor, especially in these next 4 years, or probably even more than that, is to be the leader and the guy that spearheads and starts the conversation and collaboration on how we handle this sewer renovation project. We have more infrastructure projects coming down the road very soon, so we need someone who is able to mold government, fine-tune government, make it more efficient so that we can handle these projects that we have coming up. Mayor's responsibility is big picture. It is not day-to-day operations.
And David.
Thank you. I guess I'd be a little more the opposite. I think the mayor's job is more day-to-day operations. I think a lot of the big picture, while there is some guiding that the mayor does of the city council, a lot of those decisions are made by the councilman in the end. There is opportunity, of course, to bring those projects to light that are maybe not have been thought of before and that sort of thing. But in the end, it is more the day-to-day, the management of the employees, and kind of being the interface between the city government and the citizens.
And our next question submitted here. Residents often would like to see more events in Fairbury. Music festivals, food festivals, and other events have been discussed. However, alcohol is not allowed on the street, even if the streets are closed. Other towns around Fairbury have festivals which allow alcohol during events. And what is your view on this particular policy? This time we'll start with Kaci, please.
I've been at several council meetings where this has been brought up, where people do have an issue if alcohol should be involved or shouldn't be involved, because when people drink, certain incidences do happen. I'm not completely against not having alcohol at things, just if the right ordinances are set in place and the right safety precautions are taken. Do we have enough officers that are able to be there, as well as the city has to understand that overtime has to be compensated in order to have officers at these events. So I'm not against it, but we just have to have the right precautions when that does happen.
Seth.
Well, I agree with Kaci on that. I think that the more recreation, the more activities that we have as a community, I think is a good thing. But obviously we want to make sure that we're not overdoing our police force, that we are taking the proper safety precautions. As mayor, those would be things that we'd look, is it benefiting the community, opposed to just one, satisfying the wants of one particular group. That's the system that we're in. The majority makes the decision, regardless of what particular. But as long as it's for economic development, as long as it's for community recreation, leisure, it would definitely be something that we would look into.
And David.
The city does have an ordinance now about that. We do allow alcohol in the streets when they can be closed and for certain events. The person having the event does provide security. We do generally try to have additional officer on duty at the time, if possible, but the insurance and the security and such are supposed to be provided by the person having the event. I do agree too that we do the more events the better in town, and it gives the people of the town something to do.
And Brian.
Me personally, I'm all for it. I've been to other communities where they've had alcohol in the streets, different events, and as long as you have a fun atmosphere and regulate it properly and watch over people, I don't think anything bad will happen. I think it'll be a benefit to the community.
All right, next question. We will start with Seth this time. Do you have a plan that will help to revitalize downtown and other businesses in the city? If yes, what is that plan?
Well, 30 seconds isn't enough to get into the specifics of that, but I think our primary focus over the next 4 years, or however many years it is to figure out how we tackle this sewer renovation project. Like I mentioned, there are other infrastructure renovation projects that are going to come up. So I would encourage, I'm a part of the board of directors for the Fairbury Area Chamber of Commerce. We have the local specialties groups, we have different clubs and organizations in town that I think can spearhead these kinds of projects as opposed to it being the primary focus of the government right now. I think that we have some big economic questions before us and that the mayor and city council need to put a primary focus on that. But of course, collaborate and help out with the folks and groups that decide that they want to take part. The mayor and city council could be a bridge to that. So,
David.
First, there's quite a few buildings in Fairbury that appear empty or available, but in reality aren't for sale or rent because, in part, long-term owners of these buildings can keep them around for less than they can rent a storage unit in a lot of cases. Secondly, I think we do have a lot of great businesses in town. Most products and services can be obtained locally without traveling out of town. Those along with several other large employers from manufacturing and service trades. And if you compare our community with others in the area, I feel pretty good about our future.
Brian.
One of the things I'd like to do for small businesses is to encourage small businesses, waive a lot of these little fees that they will incur trying to start up their business, fees for name change, just tax code stuff. There's fees for every little step. I'd like to have the city waive a lot of these fees or cover them so it seems less daunting for small businesses to get started.
And Kaci.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Do you have a plan that will help to revitalize downtown and other businesses in the city? And if so, what is that plan?
As we walk downtown, we see buildings that are empty. And some things other communities do is you can set ordinances in place that make it so buildings don't remain vacant. They have a certain amount of days until they have to get somebody in the building. And they're required to do certain things to the outside of the building so it does look good. I think that there are abatements. If you want to start a business, come to a council meeting, present us with your business, your idea. If we approve it, we'll abate your taxes in order for you to start some kind of business here, so we actually have an incentive to have a business here, and volunteer groups to clean things up and things like that.
Could I add something, Kent, to that, please?
We're going to hold off at this time, Seth, just to be able to move through these, but we'll get to more here as we go on. Thank you. Next, it'll be David, as we get to the next one here with the rotation. Have you ever managed a budget as big as the one our city has?
No. Unfortunately for my company, not quite. I do have a business that I've owned, for, like I said earlier, for 16 years. I am involved, obviously, in the budgeting of that. I have worked with the city budget, obviously, over the last 4 years. But I guess I've not been in the sole role of being the budget determiner for one that large.
And Brian?
No, not this large. What I do at Caterpillar is I do suspect material supplier returns. So I'm dealing with suppliers from different countries, that a lot of different parts add up to a lot of different dollars, but not tens of millions like we're talking here.
Kaci?
No, I've never had a budget to work with that is that large. However, I did work in the police department for a couple years and did the deposits for them and understood there's budgets, there's so much you can spend on certain things. You need to look for state bids, you need to look for grants in order to keep your budget as low as possible.
And Seth?
Neither have I, but one of my main, I work at Technical Metals here in town, and I am a part of the purchasing department. And what we do in the purchasing department is not only buy all the materials, everything that we need in order to get the final product out the door. Technical Metals had net sales of $10 million last year. But my responsibility is every invoice that comes through that company is going across my desk. We do over 4,000 different projects every year. So I'll look at each of those invoices and figure out ways to cost reduce that specific invoice. Thousands of invoices a year, how do we save money on that? So no, I do not have budget experience, but I will say that I am willing to collaborate. I am very humble. I understand that I don't have all the experience in the world at 26 years old. That would be somewhat impossible. But I am willing to collaborate and work with those who I have the utmost respect for. People who've put a lot of time into this. I'd be more than happy to work with them and take their input.
Next question, we'll go back to our left to Brian to start this, please. How would you suggest the city combat the drug problem in Fairbury?
With a proactive approach. I'd like to see the police get into schools again, and I'm sure they already do, but talk to the youth. I mean, something's happening where it's not getting through. I don't know if it's just a few bad eggs that are sticking around pushing the drugs on people, but it's got to be a proactive approach. It's got to be a community approach. Everybody's got to look out for everyone in this community when it comes to drugs because it can ruin lives.
Kaci?
Many of you know that there is a huge problem in Fairbury, and most of us have a family member affected by drugs, but the first thing we have to do as a local government is acknowledge we have a drug problem. I don't know if the department is necessarily ready right now for a K-9, but it doesn't mean that we as a community cannot start raising money for a K-9, because I feel like so many of us would get involved. And to educate the kids of real consequences of drugs, starting much younger than what we do, making them aware of things, and possibly down the road having a proactive drug unit again would be a great tool for Fairbury to work with the county together.
Seth?
I think the first step in solving any problem is recognizing that there is one, and my hat's off to the city of Fairbury and Livingston County and all the other municipalities in Livingston County through programs like the Safe Passage Program, the purchasing of Narcan. Those kinds of things are a step in the right direction. I think that we can go further. This is not a problem that is unique to Fairbury. It's not unique to Livingston County. Heroin addictions, all these things are problems that are happening across rural America. So there are plenty of case studies, plenty of projects out there that we can look at to find the best way to handle this. I'm going to refer to our police department. I'm going to refer to our local health officials. They're the ones that, they're the professionals in that, but I'm willing to collaborate and find the best way for us to move forward on that particular issue.
And David?
I do agree that there is a drug problem in Fairbury. I don't think it's unique to Fairbury, but it is a problem nonetheless. Since being on the city council, we, and with extensive help from CELCAS, We have approved officers to carry Narcan, which is a drug that will immediately stop effects of opioid overdoses. This has already quite literally saved lives. I believe that our officers are becoming more involved with our schools, interacting with children from younger age, building bonds at sporting events, through drug awareness and prevention programs. We can make a long-term difference in drug addiction.
All right, next submitted question. We will start here with Kaci. What is your vision for Fairbury's future, and what qualities or abilities do you possess to help achieve that vision?
My hope, and at the end of this, if elected, that we can look back on today and know that everybody together played a part in making something different, making something positive happen for the community, because a mayor doesn't have all the answers, a council doesn't have all the answers, nobody does. But my hope is that we work together and that, you know, if you tell me something or you tell the council something, that is taken to the complete seriousness of what you have to say, and to make Fairbury a place where we're happy to be here and my kids can take memories with them down the road, and just a positive outlook on the future.
And Seth.
I want more people and I want more business. I want a larger tax base so that it takes the burden off of us that are currently here. And I want things to be good for us that are currently here and for future businesses and residents. When I jumped into this a couple months ago and decided that I wanted to run, the first thing I did was made a whole big platform of all the different kinds of things I want to see in the Fairbury. And the more I kind of dive into this, I realize that we've got some big issues that are coming up, like the sewer renovation. But not only that, but we have a water treatment facility that was built in the 1920s. That's going to require some renovation within the next 10 to 15 years. And I would almost bet that that's probably a $20 million project sitting on top of that as well. So we have this project here, another project down the road. I obviously want to bring more people and more business to Fairbury, but there are priorities. And the priorities right now are handling these big infrastructure projects that we have. Unfortunately, we got knocked in the teeth on it this time around, and we're going to have to bite the bullet. But I think we've got some good people in this community who are willing to dig their feet in the dirt and get this moving forward.
David.
I like Fairbury. I don't think there's. I guess I'm hearing a lot of I don't like Fairbury the way it is. We need to change it. I like Fairbury the way it is. I do think we always need to be open to new businesses coming in, new business startups. But as far as completely changing Fairbury, I don't want to do that. I think we all chose to live here because we like it, and I want it to remain that way.
And Brian.
Fairbury is a small town. It was a small town when I was born. It'll be a small town when I die. Things happen slowly here. I know that. We all know that. But I'd like to see things keep progressing, even if it's slow. Slow and steady wins the race. Slowly build business, slowly develop new properties for people to build houses on. It's going to take time, but we're going to make it better. In the long run, it's going to be better.
And for the next question here, we will start with Seth. What are the responsibilities of the Fairbury Planning Commission, and when do they meet? How does the mayor interact with them? Should they be responsible for planning Fairbury's future, or the mayor or the council?
I'm not sure that I could get into the specifics of you when they meet, but I do know that they are on the budget, so they do get paid. So they do play somewhat of a role within the city. My guess would be that they have they have a responsibility of finding out what ways we can have economic development, what ways we can help in terms of the zoning here in the city. It plays an extremely important role. As far as what relationship the current mayor, was that the question, or what? Sorry.
How does the mayor interact with them, and should they be responsible for planning Fairbury's future, or the mayor or the council?
Well, I think I think everybody should be involved in that conversation, and I throw the residents in that as well. You obviously, if you have a planning commission, if you have any kind of commission, you obviously want an interaction between the mayor, the head of the city, with that.
The planning commission is kind of a think tank that reports to the city council. Don't really have a lot of direct power. The mayor does generally attend the meetings and reports that whatever they come up with back to the council for any decisions that need to be made. They meet at noon once a month, and I think that answers it. Thanks.
And next is Brian.
Well, it's always going to take a collaborative effort by everyone involved. I mean, you take any good idea from wherever you can find it and take bits and pieces and make it the best idea for the community and you move forward. So that's the way to do it, in my opinion.
And Kaci.
I think that meeting at noon really isn't making it accessible to everybody. I feel that it should meet at a different time so that more people could come if they wanted to. Noon is just not a great time. As you know, they meet once a month, and getting the mayor involved as much as he can would be a great idea.
And for the next submitted question, we will start on the right here with David. Compare and contrast the Fairbury Improvement Group and the Greater Livingston County Economic Development Council in terms of future impact potential to Fairbury.
The Fairbury Improvement Group is a group of local citizens that meet, kind of go over ideas, and I've actually started quite a few projects here in town that have improved the city. The Greater Livingston County Economic Development Council is, in my opinion, answers to Livingston County and Pontiac probably first. I think more will come from our local citizens doing local work here to improve the town.
Brian.
Yeah, it does seem the Greater Livingston County Economic Development Committee does cater a little bit more towards Pontiac from what I've seen, but I think they do some good, but it's going to be the people from Fairbury that watch out for Fairbury, and that's what I value more.
Kaci.
I think that we need to stick more with Fairbury residents, giving us ideas about what works in Fairbury. Over the past few years, we've paid almost $19,000 to the Greater Livingston County, and I don't know if the actual spending of that money has actually benefited us in the long run. Hearing more of the voice from local people who are more about Fairbury and not Pontiac, I think would be a better choice.
Seth.
Well, at Technical Metals, I am the representative to the Greater Livingston County Economic Development Council, and Technical Metals serves on the board of directors for the GLC EDC. I completely agree with everyone up here that the city, Fairbury residents should play a role in the future of our city. Whether it's $19,000 or $50,000, it takes initiative. We pay that membership into the GLC EDC. So instead of just paying it and then sitting back and saying, well, we're not getting this or we're not getting that, I say we take the initiative. There's a lot going on over there in Pontiac and throughout Livingston County, so we have to be competitive as a city and say, this is what we want here. The GLC EDC actually just brought on a grant writer. That's something that people up here have talked about. We have grants. It takes a lot of time to go into to put money into the grants. So I say we keep paying the membership, and then we utilize the GLC EDC on top of utilizing the minds and the work of people here in the community. It takes initiative.
The next question, we will start back over again here to the left side with Brian on this. What is your plan to reduce the financial stress on taxpayers regarding the water sewer situation?
Unfortunately, folks, we're kind of stuck with this. We've got a lot of money sunk into this, and it's going to take a lot of taxpayer dollars to pay it off. What we're trying to do is get grants, of course, but there's only so much money out there in grants. It's going to take a lot of belt tightening. We're going to have to try to get a lower interest rate on this loan through the EPA. There is paperwork in for that, but we're just kind of waiting and seeing if we get that interest rate down to 1%. But it's there. It's going to happen.
And Kaci.
Grants are a good way to do that. Overall, we need to take a look at the budget and see where we can cut different things on the budget. And also, if we can actually get people to move to Fairbury, then our tax base can go up and the water bills could possibly go down. So it's being fiscally responsible in order to make your pocketbooks a little fuller.
Seth.
Kaci is exactly right. It is fiscal responsibility. And the Clean Water Act, which is what this project is requiring, was passed in 1972 under Richard Nixon. And we did not decide until May of 2016 to start planning big time for it and paying for it. Your increases in your bills are nothing right now. They are going to continue to go up. I told you that I am a numbers guy, and you look at the numbers and they just don't add up. So the fact is that, like Brian said, we're just going to have to take it for right now. But we need to use this project as an opportunity to mold and fine-tune our government so that we can handle the sewer or the water renovation project that's going to be coming up in the next 10 to 15 years. Other infrastructure renovation projects that are coming up. So we have to bite the bullet this time around. It's not going to be enjoyable. We're going to take a hit. But we can learn from this, and we can use this as an opportunity, which is what I intend to do.
And David.
Yeah, the upcoming sewer project is a federal EPA mandated, unfunded mandate. The water rates have gone up. They are going to go up even more. The one thing we got to realize, I think that might have been misspoke. The water and sewer plants are separate entities from the city, sort of, in that you can't use tax dollars for them. They do have to survive on their own fees. Part of this project would need to be done even without the EPA mandate. The facilities are just getting old. Thank you.
Right, next question. We will start with Kaci here. What changes do you plan to make in each department?
If elected, my plan is to sit down with each department separately and speak with them about what their concerns are within their department and actually hear what they have to say, because I worked in a police department. I understand how that works, how that operates, and I understand what the officers go through, but I don't understand what a sewer or water or other people go through. So the first things first is we start from scratch and we sit down with everybody. I don't necessarily know what would happen with each department, but my goal is to just rebuild everything.
Seth.
I'm not able to go into specifics of what would happen in each department, but I can tell you that, as I've been saying all night, it's about collaborating. And I completely understand going into this that I don't have the answers to everything, but I'm going to look to the department superintendents, the deputy superintendents, as well as the people who are out fixing the lights in the streets, out digging the holes, finding out from them how we can move forward. The biggest thing is looking at the budget for each department, and I can tell you, I know there's a whole process, and I don't have time to explain it to you now, but we would be looking at ways that we can reduce operating and administrative costs and focus that more towards economic development, infrastructure renovation, those kinds of things down the road.
David.
Most of our departments are, I think, on the right track. We have maybe fallen short in the past in our forethought and planning as far as like some of these projects that we could have started saving for and earlier, and maybe not being quite the boat we're in. As far as our police department, we have a new chief, Travis, who I think is really moving things in the right direction there. The street, water, and sewer, I think they've kind of always been on track, other than, again, the financial lack of forethought.
And Brian.
I like the way it's run right now. I think Chief Travis is doing an excellent job. We do have an aging city workforce. I mean, you're going to have to replace some people once they retire, but other than that, I think hold the status quo.
For the next question here, we will start on the right side with Seth. What is your 4-year itinerary as mayor?
It would first be to handle the sewer renovation project, begin to fine-tune and mold the government so that it runs more efficiently and productive so that we can handle those problems ahead. If we are able to tackle this sewer renovation project and other projects down the road, it would be towards what we were talking about earlier, economic development, growth. How do we fit the city for? I love Fairbury for being small too, but it's just not competitive. We have a large population here in the city on fixed incomes. All these different kind of rates increases, all of these different things, they affect the community as a whole. So we begin to kind of rearrange government to begin to focus on all people in this community, not just a certain few.
David.
We obviously in 30 seconds can't go into an itinerary for 4 years, but some of the immediate things are there's not any vacant lots hardly left in town to build on. Our subdivisions are all full. I think we need to work with developers and landowners to try and expand subdivisions a little bit for that reason. We have recently made a few adjustments to the code to allow developers easier or remove some hurdles for developers in starting subdivisions. So I think that's a good place to start, of course, along with the known projects that we know are going to be coming up, like the sewer and whatnot.
Brian.
For me, it's pay the bills for these big projects. That's the most important thing facing this community in the upcoming years. And developing land for homes to be built on, and also encouraging small businesses to come to this town. That's my 4-year plan.
And Kaci.
My thing is to get into City Hall, and City Hall, I see it is our core. And when we can start from the inside out and reach to people in the community, and of course there is the huge sewer problem, and making people aware, open and honestly, what is going on, how your tax dollars exactly are being spent. But the main thing is people keep talking about businesses, but we can't have businesses if people don't want to live here. So we have to make Fairbury a place where you do want to come and stay and raise your family.
We're going to get to one more here before we take a quick intermission. This one goes to the far right, to David to start with. Have you had prior experience in working cooperatively with a governmental body?
Yes, I would say so. Being I've been a city council member for the last 4 years. I've also been involved in some things going on over at the county. I attend regularly meetings either at the county, the schools, other bodies in the area, government bodies, to keep informed as to what's going on, and of course work with them in projects. So yeah, I would say pretty good experience in that.
And Brian.
Other than shoveling some rock for the old postmaster, which was my grandpa, I don't have any experience with that, but at some point in the future, I sure hope to.
Kaci.
Yes, I do have experience working with government bodies, and I had a great time while I was doing it, and I still have really strong relationships with people that I did work with, and not just only in Fairbury, but in local communities in the Livingston County.
And Seth.
Yes, with the Fairbury Area Chamber of Commerce being on the board of directors for that, as well as being a representative to the Greater Livingston County Economic Development Council. That's a mouthful. But yes, I do have that experience with those groups. And working here at the school too as a coach, we have to work with administrators, the Board of Education. So.
All right, thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take a brief break here for 5 minutes or just a tad over, and we will come back with you in just a few minutes. Once again, folks, please take your seats and direct your attention up to the front as we continue with the second part of our program tonight. We'll get to a few more questions here that were submitted ahead of time, then we will try to get to at least a few questions as time permits here of some that were submitted on the basket there tonight. As we start over here with the order of questions, to the left here with Brian for this one. What challenges do you see Fairbury having as a small town in the near future or longer term?
Just economic challenges. We've got as you've heard plenty tonight, the big projects coming up. That's the big challenge going forward. getting the money to pay for this, the fees. Yeah, it's a big, big deal. Cities can go bankrupt if they don't pay their bills. That can happen to us if we're not careful.
Kaci.
Some challenges I see in the future are the fact that people want to get involved, knowing that what they have to say does matter, thinking that it's the same old thing and no one's going to listen to what I have to say. As long as we do that and we get involved, I think everything else will fall into place. We have a budget to work on, and we have businesses that we need to find a way to get it out there that we do have creative ideas and businesses in town that can bring something to other communities and make local people more knowledgeable on just what we can do together to improve the community.
I think it's kind of a replaying theme here. Obviously, this project, the infrastructure projects that we have, those are the biggest concern. But that on top of how do we look to expand our tax base? How do we look to be appealing for businesses, for people to come here when we have utility rates that are going out the roof, when we have property taxes and all kinds of other taxes that aren't really a bang for their buck. For living here in this community. And while everyone here in this room is drawn to this community because this is where our family is, this is where we were raised, this is what we want, my question is how do we make that appeal to people that aren't from this community? And I think that that's going to be extremely difficult with the kinds of projects that we have in the situation that we are. But like I said earlier, we use it as an opportunity. How do we fine-tune everything? How do we move forward, make our government more efficient so that we can tackle these projects head on while bringing in more people and more business to make us stronger?
And David.
Our challenges are, again, very clear. Paying for projects. We have a very aging infrastructure. Not only the sewer plant that we've been talking a lot about, but also the water plant. Bringing in new people, but first we have to have places for them to build homes. So again, in the short term, I think that's a big one. Again, we're out of lots. So I think that's the hard part, or the downside. But I think we also need to remember that we do have a great small town here. It's a great place to raise kids. We have a great school. We have a lot of awesome local businesses. And I think our future's bright.
All right, next question. We will start down here with Kaci. Do you believe that it might be important to the functioning of the city council that a candidate for mayor first has experience as an alderman before seeking the office for mayor? And if not, why?
I don't believe it's always necessary. I think it's good to be involved in your community and to actually go to the council meetings, because I can honestly say I've sat at every meeting but maybe 3 over the last 3 years and listened to everything that they have to say. When I'm there, I write down questions that I may have for them or questions that I feel should have been asked that aren't. So I don't necessarily think you have to have alderman experience in order to be mayor. If you are willing to learn and to listen to people, I think that is the key factor in being mayor.
I agree with Kaci, but I also do want to say that, I've been talking to a lot of folks around town, and that's one of the first questions that comes up is what, experience do you have? If experience is knowing about a project in 1972 and choosing not to handle it until the final deadline, then that's experience that I don't necessarily want. I am proactive. I push to collaborate. And I think those are extremely important. I think they blow experience out the road. I wish I could give you a mile-long list of accomplishments and experience that I have, but I can tell you right now that I am proactive, and things like that would not happen if I was mayor, because I've said this in every election that I've ran in up until this point. I'm not necessarily here to make friends. We're here to make the tough decisions that need to be made.
David.
I guess I wouldn't say that experience is absolutely necessary on the city council before running for mayor. I do think it helps. It's the way I chose to do it. Run for city council first, get my feet wet, get a little experience, and then go for the next step. I think it's helpful to have the knowledge of how meetings run, how the city works. There's a lot of that you just can't get by sitting on the other side of the aisle at a meeting.
Brian.
I don't think you necessarily have to have the previous experience. I think you have to have the passion to make change, the willingness to work with others, and the will to get things done.
Thank you all for that portion of the program. We are now, for the sake of time, going to start answering a few questions here submitted by the audience this evening. And first of all, do you consider the job of mayor to be a full or part-time job? Would your current job interfere with fulfilling the needs of the city? Seth.
Can you say that one more time, Ken, please?
Do you consider the job of mayor to be a full or part-time job? And would your current job interfere with fulfilling the needs of the city?
Just by nature, I give everything 110%. Even the smallest things that I do, I just get immersed in them. Like I said, it's probably the reason why I'm balding and have gray hair at the age of 26 years old. I can't see it affecting. I do volunteer, or I do coach at the high school. So maybe something like that I would have to take back on that. But as far as technical metals goes, I would immerse myself in being mayor. That would be a primary thing. But I think it's very easy and very simple to balance the two. I don't think being the mayor of a town of 3,800 requires a whole lot of sacrificing something else. I think we can definitely make it balanced, and it would be something that I would do.
David.
Judging by the pay scale, I'm pretty sure it's part-time. I think it's going to be what the elected official makes of it. Hopefully it is more than the wage. I work across the street from the city hall. I own my own business, gives me some amount of flexibility in my schedule. I regularly make trips over there now. It's just a walk across the street. So no, I don't see the two interfering with each other in my case.
By definition, it's a part-time job, but it wouldn't be a part-time job to me. It's always going to be on your mind. I work full-time at Caterpillar, and luckily, through the union bargaining, there's clauses in the union contract that allow me to take off whenever duty calls, if there's meetings or anything. Unpaid, of course, but that's where the mayoral salary comes in, of that whopping $6,000 a year.
Kaci.
It is a part-time job. However, I feel like if you are mayor, it will be full-time. You have to uphold a standard. You always have to be available for people because you are their voice. So just because it is paid only part-time doesn't mean that we only are part-time. I also feel that it's a governing position, not a micromanaging position. My job is not to be in all the departments, overseeing them every step of the way, every day. It is simply to govern and to be here for the community.
And we'll start over here with David for the next question submitted tonight. Is there a plan to improve our city sidewalks going forward?
There is discussion about some of the sidewalks that are uptown, like in the business area. There's always a plan for improving sidewalks that the city will pay half, the homeowner or business owner, whatever, pays the other half. As far as a global scale project, no, I'm not aware of anything in the works. But I think through that, people who have failing sidewalks can get the service they need.
And Brian.
I am not aware of any money allocated to fix all the sidewalks in town, but I mean, the city, if I'm mayor, and I imagine even if I'm not mayor, will work with people to get their sidewalks improved. I don't think nobody wants a faulty sidewalk and lead to injuries.
Kaci.
There's not anything set in place right now, but they have talked at some council meetings about fixing sidewalks downtown. The sidewalk outside of Lost in Time, the Arts, actually is crumbling and falling apart, and the woman who does work there did injure herself, and it has yet to be fixed, which is a huge concern. And an ordinance that is in place now, if you are interested in getting your sidewalk fixed, is the city pays half and you pay half. Going door to door, there was a woman that said her sidewalk was a mess, and I told her, you know, you could come to a council meeting. They approve it at a council meeting to fix it, but we do need to take a look at the sidewalks because they are in pretty bad shape.
And Seth.
I think the program that David alluded to, I think that it's a good program. You know, the city pays half, the business owner or the individual pays the other half. I think that's a practical approach to handling some crumbling sidewalks in town.
New question here. We will start on the left side again with Brian. What will you as the new mayor do to bring transparency and honesty to the office?
I would like every city council meeting to be put online, maybe Facebook Live every meeting. That way everyone who can't make it can actually witness it. All the minutes are available online, but not a lot of people will take the time to read those. As far as transparency, yeah, I'm an open book. Not afraid to answer any questions. I won't hold back.
Kaci.
I do have a Facebook, and I have posted on there about live streaming videos that happen at council meetings. They are video recorded, however, they've never been asked to be put online, and I feel like there's so many people that can't get to the meetings that they need to be on there. Another great tool that I happen to love is Freedom of Information Act. I feel like all of you should be educated on it and to understand that that is your right. In order to maintain an open, honest government, you need to understand what you can do in order to get information. A freedom of information can simply be a sticky note you can turn in and get information from your government, which they should be happy to give you. There are several different ways to do it, and part of my job as mayor is I want to educate you on how to do that.
Seth.
I think that, first of all, you know, having a community forum, WJEZ, I think that something to do on the radio. I think the mayor making a weekly appearance on that would be something that would be worth it. The FOIA, I have FOIA'd a lot of documents, and I can tell you that as of right now, the city of Fairbury has been extremely helpful in getting those documents over to us, so I feel that they are very open about that. So promoting that kind of program and that accessibility. I understand that people are busy, and to say that if you don't show up to a meeting, you know, once every second Wednesday or whichever it is, just say that you don't show up to those meetings, then that means you don't care. I don't think that's true. People are extremely busy. We have busy schedules, and I think that a government has a responsibility to make sure that you are aware, utilizing social media, forcing your alderman and your mayor to get out in the community and do volunteer hours. Things like that I think are extremely important, and that's how you have that kind of accessibility, that openness, and transparency.
And Dave.
I think openness and honesty comes just straight from the candidate. If you are an open and honest person, that will come through. It's the only way to manage a city. It's the only way to manage any business. As far as the open meetings, FOIAs, and that sort of thing, you can also just email your alderman, email the mayor, call them up on the phone. That is a legitimate way of getting information from the city, and we're generally pretty happy to respond.
And our next question submitted here, we will start with Kaci. This person says, any possibility of getting the railroad crossings fixed?
Does that mean as far as like the noise also going through town and things like that?
That's all it says here.
Well, that could be something we can look at and make sure that the stick goes down and we get them fixed. That would be something I would ask the street department about and talk to Martin and see what avenue he wants to take on it.
Seth.
I'm sure that requires some kind of collaboration and work between the city and possibly the railroad. I'm sure it's probably not something that we can just say, we're going to fix it and then it's going to be fixed. I can't say that we can utilize resources in order to make sure that those kinds of things get addressed. You know, just taking one phone call to the railroad company and saying, hey, we need this done, it's going to require a little bit more than that. And as mayor, I'd be happy to spearhead that. My grandpa always told me I'm kind of an acquired taste because I'm a little pushy at times, and I'd look to use that in order to get us in that project. But yeah, if the community wants something, we're going to find the most practical and efficient way to make it happen, and we're going to do what we need to.
David.
Yeah, the railroad tracks are an ongoing problem. The crossings are very rough. It's a battle that has been going on between the city and the railroad for quite some time. The railroad is ultimately supposed to be responsible for fixing the railroad track crossings. They don't want to do it, for obvious reasons. They don't want to spend the money. Also, they want to close down more crossings in Fairbury. We don't want to allow them to do that. So that's where the battle comes in. The last time any maintenance was done to them, the city just went ahead and did it, but it's my understanding that that's not exactly kosher either, because it is their crossing, the railroads.
And Brian.
Yes, obviously, we all hate bumpy railroad crossings, and we'll do whatever we can to fix them. They've been worse in the past than this and gotten fixed, but, there's a shelf life for each crossing. Apparently, the railroad company doesn't think it's up yet, but we will keep pushing them to get those fixed, and we'll do our part to get them fixed as well.
Next submitted question here, we will start with Seth. How do you feel about the city clerk position being a non-elected position?
There's a bunch of rules and laws in this country, in this state, and here at home that I do not agree with. But I understand that in a democracy, in the system in which we operate, that's the way it is. If the community is willing to make something happen, if we're willing to take the step in order to make that not happen, then we'll do that. But as far as that goes, that's the system in which we operate, and we're going to follow the rules as that is.
David.
I think the clerk position should probably not be an elected position. I think it's important that the mayor, the city council, and the clerk can all get along and can all work together to do their job. I also think there's a lot of information that can get lost in the transit if you were to change the clerk every few years or every 4 years. So in general, I think that no, it should not be an elected position.
I would agree that it should not be an elected position. You don't want a high turnover rate at that position. You want to have someone keep gaining experience and using that applied experience, learning from past mistakes and past successes and adding that to their job. I don't think it's a good idea to have that high of a turnover rate for a city clerk.
And Kaci.
The city clerk position right now is appointed. However, if I were mayor and we did it, and I get in there, I would like to talk to the city council about their views on that position. They work with the city clerk to understand what their takes on it, how well they worked with that person. And depending on how the council perceives it and how they would go about it, I would pursue different avenues of possibly making it elected or keeping the position appointed.
Next up here, we will start on the right with David. If you are elected mayor and there is an interested wind farm, would you waive the 1.5 setbacks?
Absolutely not. I believe that would just limit your city's ability to grow, not just for commercial but also residential space. You're putting a boundary around the town that says you will go no further. I would absolutely not.
Right, and Brian.
I would not eliminate that either. I believe, like David said, you need that space out there just for a personal buffer for people with the property and room to grow.
I agree with both of them. I think that we could benefit from the small percentage in our community.
And Seth.
I agree with all four. It does put limitations up, and I think that what's been put before us is what we follow.
Okay, we have time for one more to get to before closings that was submitted here by an audience member tonight. Basically dealing with sewer, water. As mayor, what will you do to ensure the city provides and maintains quality services in the future long term? We'll start here on the left with Brian.
Well, that's exactly what this is going to do. These projects are going to give us quality services long term. There will not be a disruption when they're building this. They have ways of building around and piping. There will be absolutely no disruption for what I've been told. You won't notice any disruptions whatsoever. They've done this before in other communities and have seen no issues.
Kaci.
Could you repeat the question, Mayor?
Sure, this deals with water and sewer fees. As mayor, what will you do to ensure the city provides and maintains quality services in the future long term?
Well, the future and long term, I think overall, is having a government in a community that communicate together, and we have an open government that tells you what is going to take place. You're going to know what is going on. You're going to expect increases. Overall, informing everybody.
Could you repeat that for me as well, please?
Sure, dealing with sewer and water fees. As mayor, what will you do to ensure the city provides and maintains quality services in the future long term?
Well, in terms of prepping for them, we're not going to wait, a few months or a few years before the project is finally due. These are things I've been arguing and talking to folks that we use this project right now to mold and fine-tune our government to figure out what works, what we need. I understand it's not cheap to function a government, but we can use this project, the sewer renovation project that's here right now. We can use that to find out what works in our government, what's going to prepare us to handle these projects in the future. So the biggest thing is to make sure that we are able to tackle them head on as opposed to dragging our feet as we've done in this particular instance.
And David.
As far as future water and sewer, this sewer project will do a good-sized step in advancing our sewer system and the plant itself. We still do have separate water or sewer and storm drain systems, combined systems in most of the town. That is going to continue to be a problem. A lot of the infrastructure itself is deteriorating. Really, it's going to come down to having a little more forethought on rates, increases, and that sort of thing, so that we can have the money to do it. We have wells deteriorating. We're regularly pumping those to try and increase their flow, put them back the way they should have been. We're digging test wells quite a bit, and that sort of thing.
All right, thank you. This concludes our questions portion of the program this evening. Now we will go on to the closing comments, and earlier Seth drew first for this.
I am a firm believer that a successful business is flexible, it's proactive, it's creative, it's fiscally responsible. And I think that you run a city like you run a business. At Technical Metals, since I've been there the past 4 years, we have had to make drastic changes that are not popular, changes that kept the people who had to make those decisions up late at night, but they're decisions that had to be made. I am here for the next 20, 30, 40 years. I have every intention of raising a family here. I have every intention of growing old here. Although if you ask my mom, Carol, I'm not starting to raise a family quick enough. So, but I am here for the future of this community. I have 15 step-nieces and nephews here in town. I want them to have the good things that I have here. When I went to college down in Champaign, there was no question that I was not going to be coming back here to Fairbury. I didn't know what I was going to be doing, but I knew I wanted to come back here. Those are the kinds of things I want my kids and your grandkids. Those are the kinds of things that I want them to say. I might have came across as a little aggressive tonight on certain issues, but I have the utmost respect for our current city council, the current mayor, and all three of these individuals standing up here with me tonight. I have no doubt in my mind that we all want what is best for the city of Fairbury, but there is a significant difference in how we plan on getting to that better place as a community. I'm a competitor by nature, and I look forward to being proactive in fighting for this community so that we can put ourselves in a better position. And if better position means more people, more business, then heck yeah, I'm all for it. But it's going to require the input of the community as well. And that's something that I look forward to I've had a lot of great conversations over the past couple months, and we just finished up our wrestling season. So I look forward to getting out and having more conversations with people here in the next couple months. So thank you all very much for coming out tonight.
Kaci.
Running for mayor for me was something that I thought about for probably a year and contemplated why I wanted to do it, and I had to make sure that doing it was for the right reasons and for the fact that I do want to live here, I do want to raise my kids here, and I want them to take something away from our community and to make Fairbury a community that everyone feels that they're a part of it and involved, and to make the hard decisions and to tell you about the issues that we do have and to be open about what goes on, because nothing to me is going to change unless you have the correct knowledge, the right knowledge. And we do have huge problems to fix, but for me, we have to do it together as a community.
Right.
First off, thank you for coming out tonight. This is a better turnout than I think all of us expected. Hopefully, it was informative to everyone. It was enlightening to all of us, I would imagine. Some of my answers may not be as long-winded or detailed as some people, but I like to get straight to the point. That's what I do when it comes to work, to business. I don't like any BS. I guess that's the best way to put it. I just like to get straight to the point, tell people the truth, cut through it. And I think that's what this town needs. We wouldn't be in this situation with these projects. They would have been done a long time ago had they had leadership like what I will provide.
And David.
I was raised in Fairbury, owned and operated a successful company here in town for, like I said earlier, over 16 years. I'm currently an alderman on the Fairbury Council, active in all our committees. I'm also a founding member of the Fairbury Improvement Group, which mentioned earlier is a group of residents that have spearheaded quite a few local improvement projects over the last couple of years and have quite a few more on our plate. I'm also a member of the Community Connections Group, which is a wider area group that works on bringing several of the local communities together to brainstorm problems and ideas. The safety of our community is important to us, or to me, I'm sorry, which is why I would encourage our police department to practice community policing by prioritizing building ties with our residents, our children, and our businesses. I would also encourage officers' participation in our community and school events to get more directly involved with schools in their younger ages. Drug prevention and awareness programs are important for that drug problem we've been discussing. As police committee chairman, I've already directed the police department to maintain visible police presence at school bus stops and on the route in general, which I would obviously continue that. You've heard a lot of negative things tonight about the city, some positive. I guess I'd like to end it on a little more positive note. My wife and I chose to move back here to raise our family after college, to start my business, because we love the town. We love Fairbury. We have safe streets, good schools, awesome neighbors, convenient local businesses, which I mentioned earlier. I think we really do have a good thing going here, and it'd be my goal to maintain at least that level. That's why most of us chose to live here. It's why we plan to continue living here, and hopefully it'll be the same reason our children want to live here.
Thank you all candidates. Up a big round of applause for everyone up here tonight. And on behalf of the Fairbury Area Chamber of Commerce, I'm Cat Cass, and thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great night. And remember to vote coming up here in April. Thank you. All right, I'm not quite done. One more thing. The candidates will be sticking around out here, folks, so come on out. Please meet and greet with them a little bit, and feel free to talk to them tonight.